All right, so I did a video on my channel recently titled, "You're Not Built to Be an Owner-Operator If." And in that video, I shared some mindset shifts that I believe the employee, the individual that is either a company driver now or new to trucking and an employee somewhere else now, but desires to be an owner operator one day. I went through some mental shifts in that video that individual needs to be able to make if they want to be able to transition successfully into becoming an owner operator. And I got a comment from William Hill on that video that I want to dig into in this video. So I want to recap real quick and give you a little bit of context on William Hill's comment. So in that video, I shared one of the mental shifts that I spoke about is the idea of free CDL training and new trucks. I shared in that video how I believe that is a tripping point for individuals that are coming into this profession that desire to be an owner operator one day. I'm going to read William Hill's comment on that tip that I gave in that video, and then I'm going to expound. I'm going to give my perspective on William Hill's comment. So William Hill says, what free CDL training got to do with Sugar Honey Iced Tea, SHIT? Essentially, he's saying, what does free CDL training got to do with the subject of me not being built to be an owner-operator or an entrepreneur? He goes on to say, hell, that's what I'm looking for to get my L's back. New trucks ain't SHIT, Sugar Honey Iced Tea, unless they manual, but you get attached to your truck. I was a company driver, but my truck was my truck. Well, they help because they designated a truck for you. I love my truck. 15 years later, I still think of that truck. I want to get into this, okay, because there's a lot to talk about in William Hill's comment. William asked initially, what free CDL training got to do with Sugar Honey Iced Tea? That's where I'm going to start at, because there's a lot to talk about right there. Because we're talking about mindset shifts, okay? And an owner-operator, an entrepreneur, we'll say, at heart, realizes that anything that's free on the front end typically comes with obligation on the back end. And an entrepreneur also knows that obligation on the back end is generally going to, keyword, cost them more on the back end than the price would be on the front end. So a real entrepreneur wouldn't want to go into a situation free or with no money up front or with no leverage / negotiating power up front. They're going to want to go into a situation where they can pay their way up front so that they maintain control on the back end. Next thing I want to speak on as far as this is, and I've said this before in my videos, to an entrepreneur, control is of the utmost importance. And real entrepreneurs, this is how an individual knows whether they're really built for entrepreneurship and whether they are a real entrepreneur at heart, is how willing are you to give up control? How willing are you to sell your control? And an owner operator, a real entrepreneur, is not willing to give up control of the first 6 months, the first year, the first 2 years of their driving career in exchange for free CDL training. And this is why you hear me use the phrase when I'm talking about this subject, only $5,000 for free CDL training. It's not that that $5,000 is not a lot of money. It's just that if to an individual that has an entrepreneur mindset, the cost of getting your CDL or paying for CDL training, as opposed to what getting the training and getting the CDL allows that individual to do on the back end, $5,000 is small. That's why I use the phrase only. It's almost like saying, if somebody wanted you to give them, we'll make this real, somebody's going to give you $1 million, but they want you to give them $5,000. You see what I'm saying? It's only $5,000. It's not that $5,000 is a lot of money. It's not a lot of money in comparison to the prize on the other end. And this is how a real entrepreneur would look at the $5,000 investment that it costs to go to CDL school. They would much rather just go out and find a way to get the $5,000 if they don't have it, as opposed to quote unquote selling out or giving up control of the first few months or the first few years of their trucking career, because that is priceless to a real entrepreneur, and they just aren't willing to sell that easily or for that low. The mindset behind looking for free CDL training is what we're talking about here, William Hill. And also, you made another point in this video or in your comment that deserves a comment as well, because you actually made my point, okay? Because in that video, again, I spoke about how free CDL training and pretty trucks, nice new trucks, is one of the tripping points for people that are coming into the industry with the desire to one day own their own truck. Your comment that you made kind of emphasizes the point that I was making. And this is what I mean by that. You said new trucks ain't sugar honey iced tea unless they manual. That wasn't the point. That's not the point of why I said new trucks are a tripping point, okay? You went on to say, but you get attached to your truck. That is the tripping point. That is the tripping point. And if companies know that most people that come into the industry are needy and that they are seeking or vulnerable to needing to feel secure. And so companies do everything they can to satisfy your need and your desire to feel secure. And one of the ways that they do that is by putting you in a nice new truck. You emphasize that here with your comment. But you get attached to your truck. I was a company driver, but my truck was my truck. I said that in the initial video, you're not built to be an owner-operator if. I said that in that video, that some people get so attached to the company truck that they actually use the phrase their truck, even though it's not their truck. It is the company's truck. It's not your truck, okay? And there's nothing wrong with being a company driver. I want to take a second just to put emphasis on that. I'm not bashing being a company driver, and I'm actually not bashing taking advantage of free CDL training. What I am saying is, if you're an individual that the phrase free CDL training or the idea of a nice new truck that a company is going to supply you with, if that is alluring to you, yet you have the desire to be an owner-operator one day, I'm just kind of pointing out the pitfalls that you got to watch out for. Because, again, those two things, the idea, the notion, the mindset behind free CDL training, in my opinion, is kind of contradictory to the notion of wanting to own and operate your own truck. I mean, you got to think. Most people that have that mindset want to own and operate their own truck out of a desire to be free. So it doesn't make sense that you would sell your freedom for the first 6 months. You would sell the first 6 months of the first year. You would sell control over your trucking career for the first 6 months to a year. It doesn't make sense that you would do that. Again, a real entrepreneur wants that freedom so bad, wants to be in control so bad that they like it's going to take a lot to buy out a real entrepreneur, because they just ain't willing to cash out on their dream that easily. Okay, so your comment in so many different ways actually it proved what I was saying is true. An individual that is susceptible to the idea of free CDL training and a company keeping you in a nice pretty truck that also has the desire to be an owner operator one day, like if you're susceptible to free, if you can be drawn in by free CDL training, if you can be quote unquote bought out that easily, then you might not make it as an owner operator. You might not make it as an entrepreneur. Bottom line, you're just going to have to be tougher than that as an entrepreneur. There's going to be so many times and so many opportunities as an entrepreneur that you have the opportunity to, I don't want to word this the wrong way, but it's the only thing that's coming to my mind right now. You're going to have the opportunity to tuck tail and run. There's so many times as an owner-operator or as an entrepreneur that you're going to have the chance to say, you know what, I can just cash out right now and I won't owe anybody anything and I can go work for somebody else. And I can have the security of a job. I can have a nice company truck that they're putting me in, and they'll probably give me some more perks as well. But to the real entrepreneur, they're not willing to give up control of what they have in most cases, unless it's a last resort to be able to get that security and that comfort that a job is going to offer them. And so, William Hill, I'm glad you left the comment. It gave a lot from me. It gave me a lot to talk about. This is not to deter an individual that that their only way of getting into trucking is to take advantage of free CDL training. If that's your only way to do it, do it. I ain't nothing but a YouTuber. Don't listen to me, okay? I'm just giving my opinion and my perspective, and I'm mainly only speaking to the individual that is drawn in by that phrase or that idea of a new truck or free CDL training, that also has the desire to own their own truck one day. I'm not talking to the average individual that's looking to take advantage of free CDL training. I'm talking to the individual that's looking to take advantage of that also has the desire to own and operate their own truck one day. So if that's you or William Hill, let me know what you think down in the comments. Maurice Bay, the Helpful Trucker here. For more helpful CDL tips, go here or consider subscribing to my YouTube channel right here. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but instead you chose to be here with me, and I really appreciate that.